telling your followers that you started. Let's see if that is working. Hey guys, come on in. I hope this is working okay. Hi Molly. Hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me. And I'm going to bring in our first guest. This is just waiting for everyone to join. Hi guys. Come in. It's connecting. There she is.
I haven't seen you for ages.
I mean, I don't even want to count how many years it's been, but it's been a long time. It's a long time.
Are you going like this? You're talking 10. Is it 10?
I'm talking about 11, maybe 12. 11, 12.
Ooh, let's not worry about it.
Let's not worry about it. You look fabulous. How are you?
Oh, I'm locked down.
I'm so fantastic. Oh, it's crazy, isn't it? I'm going to touch a bit on that actually, if we won't mind. But I just want to thank you for all the people that are joining. Hi, come in. I just want to thank you first for being my first interview today. This is so exciting. And just for everyone that's joining us, I just want to introduce Julie to you. Now, Julie is a West End actress that has been, I mean, you've been in the industry for a couple of decades now, it's safe to say. And like you said, when you were 23, you'd had 3 West End roles already. And that's insane. That's so insane. So I'm just going to read a list. I have to have my laptop here to read all your credits. Most recently, you were in Follies at the National Theatre, Network at the National. We've got The Rise and Fall of Little Voice, Mrs. Henderson Presents, Spend. From Here to Eternity, Annie Stepping Out, Billy Elliot, Evita, Scrooge, The Snow Queen, Beauty and the Beast, Merrily We Roll Along, and I've skipped some. Chicago, Just So, Sunday with Sondheim, Chess, West Side Story. I mean, that's amazing. How does that feel when you kind of like look back at that and you just think, gosh, that's my life?
It's quite funny actually, because when you do say it back to me, I kind of think you're talking about somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird that I've actually covered quite a lot of ground, and it doesn't feel like it. It feels like yesterday I did West Side Story when I was 17 years old. Do you know what I mean? It feels like yesterday. It's crazy.
And I mean, that's just the stage stuff. So obviously, you know, there's film, feature film, television workshop. So just to take it back to the beginning, really, sort of what was your... Oh, I forgot to mention, you know, Offie nominated Best Female for one, which is amazing. And who won?
I don't care.
I don't care, exactly. Switched off.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got an honorary ARAM from the Royal Academy, which is great for your services to musical theatre. You're also a patron of Leicester College of Performing Arts. So what I love about you, and what hopefully I'm going to touch on, is also you've been the other side of the table as well. And a lot of people watching today and hopefully when they watch it back are kind of the age range of either thinking about going into professional training, or they're in training, or they're about to graduate, or they've just graduated. So we're looking at, you know, a very specific kind of age range. So just to sort of start it off, obviously times are different nowadays, but how did you sort of what was your introduction into musical theatre, and how did you get into training, and where did it all start?
Well, I mean, I went to a stage school in Sunderland called Kathleen Davis Stage School, and we sort of studied dance, singing, acting, all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't like a serious college where you come out with a degree in the performing arts. It wasn't that at all. But I did that alongside my normal school, you know, and that was it. And I used to love watching musicals like Calamity Jane and Meet Me in St. Louis and, you know, Easter Parade. West Side Story, I loved. And that was my fantasy world into show business, you know, because when I did my first West End show, I hadn't seen a West End show.
Really? So you'd never actually been to London and seen
No,
it?
because
Right.
I was from Newcastle. So, you know, and there wasn't so much travel in those. I mean, I'm saying in those days, I feel like I'm 100, but sort of in the 70s when I was growing up, and then I moved to London about 83, so I was like 16 years old. Um, you know, there wasn't that much travel, so you know, and my mum and dad weren't theatrical, and it wasn't like, oh, let's go see the next West End show. It wasn't like that then. And so I remember going to see my first West End show, was Singing in the Rain, and being like, and when I did, you know, watch other people doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do forever.
Yeah, it's that wow moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. So you moved down to London. Did you have sort of a plan? Did you go into training here at a stage school?
Well, when I finished school at 16, which is kind of what you did then after I did my exams and stuff, a friend of mine said, there's a summer season going in Great Yarmouth. And in those days, you had to have your equity card to work, but you couldn't work unless you had your equity card. So it was a real you had to be just really lucky, and I got lucky. And this girl said, there's an impresario called Rex Gray, and he's looking for another girl. And it was a summer season in Great Yarmouth. And I was like, Mum, can I go? You know, and she was like, yeah, okay. So I spent 13 weeks in Great Yarmouth, and it was a circus summer show. Proper, it wasn't in a tent, it was in a proper built theatre in Great Yarmouth. And yeah, it was a circus, and I was a kind of showgirl and dancer and swimmer, because the ring used to go down and the water would come in, and the showgirls used to go down a chute and swim with the ducks. They chuck ducks in as well. And also on our during the day when we weren't doing the show, we used to travel around Great Yarmouth on the elephants, promoting the show.
Fabulous, fabulous. And what an experience, and completely different to sort of musical theatre.
Oh my gosh! I you know, and my mum and dad were like, oh my God, she's going to run away with the circus. You know, it was the typical, you know, my daughter's going to run away with the circus, but I didn't. And then that finished, and then the Rex quite took a fancy to me. He liked my work, and he liked my work ethic, and he said, why don't you come down to London? You can stay in my top floor flat with another guy who was one of the singers in. He used to run like cabaret clubs, like the Talk of London, Caledonian Suite. I can't remember what the rest of them were called. Anyway, so then I worked for him, and I lived in his top flat. He had a massive house in St John's Wood, and I, you know, being from Newcastle, I didn't even know I didn't know how posh St John's Wood was.
Yeah,
apparently it was posh.
it was still,
And
isn't
it was, and so I worked for him, and he used to stick a mic in my hand and go, sing that song, dear, get on and sing that song. So I was just literally, you know, learning on the job.
Right, amazing. And that's, I guess that's something to be said for that, isn't it? It is completely
Yeah.
different when you go from training into the big wide world anyway.
Yes.
So, do you think that kind of set you up really well for things to come?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the time I spent with Rex was my real proper training ground, you know, and also the circus, you know, just watching, you know, circus people, how much they work so hard, and you know, just watching people work. It's very different from a training place, actually then watching people putting it into practice. And of course, I just soak up everything, copy everything. And if I liked anything, even if someone sort of did this or something, I'd be like, I'll use that.
Yeah.
You know, I was just nicking stuff, everything. And then when I auditioned for West Side, which was a total fluke, because I was happy to work for Rex forever. And one of the dancers in my show at the time said, will you come along and audition for a musical with me? Because I'm nervous about singing. I was like, oh, okay. So we went and we danced, and then I got a call back to sing. And I was thinking, what am I getting myself, what's all this about? And she didn't get it, and I got it. So I just landed there. And I remember saying to the guy who I was singing with in the show, I remember saying, oh, I'm not going to do this West Side thing. Because I had to go up to Leicester, because whenever you did a West End show then, it always went off on tour somewhere, like to #1 theatres like Leicester, Manchester, Birmingham, Wolverhampton, then it'd come into town. That was kind of how it worked. And I said to him, oh, I'm not going to go up to Leicester. I can't be bothered with that. And he got, those days you had to put money in the phone.
Yes.
And he dragged me to the phone and he said, ring the number and tell them you'll be doing it. I was like, okay, I'm coming.
It's such an incredible story, because it's also says to me, you know, that thing where you're a bit blasé and you don't really care, you can then free yourself up to be a bit more relaxed in the audition. You're having fun.
Yes.
You're probably thinking, oh, this is a great class, let's just go for it.
Yes.
And that probably paid kind of some tribute to you landing that role, because you're a bit like, oh, you know, whatever will be, instead of that desperation that can sometimes come with, you know, being in an audition room. Oh, thank you for seeing me, and all that.
I mean, that was my first audition. When I look back now, because I never auditioned for Rex. I just got the job because my friend said, I've got a girl who you could use. So I never ever auditioned for him. So that, when I look back now, that was my first audition.
Wow. And you know, and also you'd been playing to a crowd before that. You'd had that sort of live experience with the showgirl and the circus. I assume that kind of helped again also with those creative kind of choices you probably made, you know, nicking all that stuff. It's just such a lovely story. So so that was your first kind of thing into nod into theatre. So was there a moment when you thought, oh, this is what I've been watching on TV and now I'm here?
Yeah.
Was there a sort of definite, right, I'm going to really pursue this line instead of where you were? Or did you just keep falling into jobs?
I just kept, I didn't have any plan.
Right.
You know, I just fell into, you know, I'm at Her Majesty's Theatre doing West Side Story. And, you know, the enormity actually didn't affect me, which was fantastic, because sometimes when you're a bit naive, it doesn't get to you. Do you know what I mean? Life is very different for me now going on stage, because I know the consequences. I know, you know, I know what's expected and the pressure and all of that. Then I was just having the time of my life.
Amazing.
So after West Side, you know, in those days as well, you used to just hear word used to go around, oh, they're doing chess. You know, and we used to queue around the block, you know, to go in, and you used to go in 300s at a time or something. And so it was just word of mouth. So you just used to rock up.
Gosh, so it's a bit like an open audition, really, how they sort of hold them now. Right.
There was much more open auditions, and people didn't, you know, only if you were kind of a name did you have an agent, you know.
Right, okay. That's really interesting. Just because I had a question come in, sort of, obviously the time at the moment, we're in the middle of a pandemic, it's just crazy, we've never seen this before. But one of the questions was about an agent and a graduate's are obviously coming out, are graduating, and doing a lot of their training online now, and they're going to have their showcase online. How kind of the question was, did you then get an agent, and how easy was it for you when you did that? And if you have any tips for people starting now.
I mean, it is so different now to get an agent. I mean, I remember when I was changing my agent, because my agent retired, and I had to say to somebody, how do you do it now? Because everything's done digitally, you know. Do you send a 10x8 photograph in a brown cardboard, you know, with a stamp pressed envelope?
I've still got mine.
Yeah. Because it's just all so different now.
Yeah.
But I always found it hard to get an agent. It was really hard. And I used to do an awful lot of work myself. And I think to this day as well, I think people are open to actors approaching casting directors and, you know, not bombarding, but I think because they understand that, you know, it's quite saturated. It's sometimes, you know, and people haven't done their showcases and they haven't got agents. And I think the casting directors are being really, really great and being open to you know, new people and stuff into the industry.
Yeah.
So I think that's a positive, I think, thing that's come out of all of this. Because I think before this, I don't know where it wasn't so much acceptable to just like, you know, connect with a casting agent if you haven't got an agent. But I think things are changing a little bit now.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of mediums, social media has helped a lot, where Twitter, for example, you can literally reply to, you know, a famous person, a Hollywood A-lister or a casting director directly. And I think during the pandemic, a lot of casting directors have, you know, offered up kind of workshops or things. So it is easier in that way, I guess, for the kind of younger performers in the digital age, the millennials and things. Yeah, which is great, and that's really interesting. So I'm loving this, Julie. I'm absolutely loving this. Thank you so much. I've got so many things I want to talk to you about. So just moving on from that journey that we've already discussed, was there kind of has there been a moment in your career where you just thought, do you know what, I don't really know if I want to do this anymore? What was it, if so, and how did you kind of navigate your way through that to sort of stay and continue?
Oh gosh, I mean, that's gone through my head so many times,
Right.
you know, because, you know, it's been tough, and I've always had to work for what I've got, you know, and I've done some fantastic work. But there's times when, you know, the whole enormity of it just gets sometimes too much. And I've just thought, oh, I'm just going to jack it in now, you know. But then I've always had my teaching working alongside my acting career. So it's kind of, I go off and teach for a bit. And then I go, oh, no, I need to do it myself now.
Yeah,
you know.
That's really good to know. And so how have you sort of juggled that? Because I had this about sort of surviving the in-between, and teaching can be a really, really good way of staying in the industry and around the industry. How did you sort of juggle that with sort of keeping yourself training and active and it not taking over, you spending all your time teaching? You know, how did you sort of balance that out? And like you said, when you got to that moment of, okay, now it's my turn, you know, how did you navigate that?
Well, I mean, as you know, I worked for Mary Hammond, and she was my original singing teacher, and she's always wanted me to keep performing, you know, and obviously she got me in at the Royal Academy of Music on the musical theatre course, and I was your dance teacher.
You were amazing.
And I used to choreograph the end of term shows and do the agent showcases and stuff like that. So it was a real playground for me. you know, because the facilities there are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it was a complete playground. But I always knew that if something came up, she would let me go. So I never felt like I was stuck there. I always felt like an actress and who was working with other actors. That's how I kind of looked at that time teaching. So I never felt like, oh God, this is what I'm doing and I need to start acting. I always felt like I was doing that all the time.
Lovely. And were you sort of training yourself? Were you taking yourself to class, or were you just kind of using sort of downtime to just keep honing your own skills with yourself, with the knowledge you
Well,
had?
yeah, I mean, the fantastic thing about being at the academy was, you know, we'd all work out every day. So I was getting paid to do my own workout, which I wouldn't have done
Yeah.
had I been at home, because I haven't done anything now. So I was getting paid to work out. I also then, you know, when you're in that environment and yes, I'm teaching, but I learn from everybody else. I've never stopped doing that. I always used to stand in the wings and watch other people on stage if I wasn't in the scene. Like West Side, I used to go down and listen to, you know, the prologue and watch the boys in the prologue, and, you know, always watching other people and learning and kind of learning from everybody else's mistakes as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kept me really fresh and not afraid to go back into the industry, because in a way teaching is almost a performance as well.
Yes.
You know what I'm like. Once I got my mic on.
Yes. Oh
No,
yeah, I remember Brittany.
but I'm different, aren't I? As a teacher, you go
Yeah.
into the mode, and so it's kind of like playing. It's like playing a role as well. So I found it really helpful to be able to, because I know if people don't practice their craft all the time, it's very hard to go back to it. You know, like if you haven't auditioned for years and years and years. Whereas I'd come into a class with you guys would be like that. It's almost like my audition. Do you know what I mean? I have to come up with something. I've got to come up with the goods.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So you get used to working on demand, which is basically, you know, your audition.
Absolutely. It's such a good way of looking at it. And you learn, and it's really true. You learn so much because you're teaching it, that knowledge you find. I don't know about you, but I definitely find I have to keep myself up to date just so I can help, you know, my student more. And even just through this last year, I feel like where I'm focusing on my students more and training and doing courses,
Yeah,
I've learnt so much through
yeah,
that. And you'll never unlearn that. You can never unlearn what you know and knowledge and stuff. So that's, yeah, I can totally understand that. And I think it's really important to keep that sort of, so I guess that kept your fire burning in a way, because you were
yeah.
seeing people do it and you think, you know, actually my time will come. So was there kind of a, a switch where you sort of changed casting? Because obviously as you go through time and we age and you go through that casting bracket, it changes, doesn't it? You know, how did you find that, and were there any sort of pitfalls to that, or did you just again think, oh, this is right for me and I'm feeling this role right now, and this is where I'm at?
Yeah. When I was younger, it was tough to get, you know, I was always understudying,
Right.
and with nothing wrong with that. I loved it. But there was a point when I got into my 30s that I was still like, I really want to do something myself. And it was hard to get, but I was lucky and I kept going. Obviously I started off, you know, like playing principal girl, and now I'm, you know, the fairy godmother, you
Yeah.
know, or the evil queen. Not yeah, but that's kind of the range that you go through.
Yeah.
When I got into sort of my late 30s, then I started getting stuff that I really wanted to do, because I was never sort of like, I was quite I wasn't sort of your sweet sort of, I'm the lovely singer and I'm going. I was quite characterful, so it was sometimes quite hard to fit me in. And it was so, you were cast very stereotypical then, you know. It was like you had to be fat and funny,
Yeah.
or blonde, beautiful, and we're living in a much better, freer age now, but it was very much like that. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't the blonde, pretty one with the lovely soprano voice, and I wasn't fat enough to be funny. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I couldn't be funny and like this because that's not right.
Yeah.
You know. But as I got older, then I got all the parts, you know, that I wanted to play.
Fantastic.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting because I mean you've had some lead roles in some really, you know, amazing shows. And do you sort of look back at that and go, gosh, I'm so pleased I didn't quit. I was so pleased that I kept going.
I do, because when I had my daughter, I think because I needed money, I had to go back to the academy straight away. So I had her in July, and then in September I was back at the academy teaching. It was really scary because I'd gone out of that. I mean, when I was pregnant, I was choreographing the Wiz at the academy, and I literally, the day that we finished, I was in hospital for 2 weeks. You know,
Oh gosh.
and then I had it because I got preeclampsia or whatever, and then in the September, that's July, in the September, I was back at the academy teaching. Now, I do believe, had I not gone back, I think if I hadn't have got that to go back to, I'm not sure whether I would have gone back.
Right.
I mean,
I can't
say for definite, but I know I felt the fear going back and acting like a grown up again when I had a baby at home, not at home on her own, but you know, with a childminder. So that was difficult. That's difficult when you get into family life and this industry, and especially when I had her, you know, in 2004. It wasn't really a well, we don't want to have somebody who's got kids.
Right.
Yeah. Again, we're living in a different world. I mean, isn't it amazing? You know, that women can, you know, it was one of those things you kind of kept it quiet, you know, which is so wrong.
Yeah, and really sad. And I think you're right. It's definitely changing for the better. And I think the world is just noticing, you know, that actually people can, especially, you know, multitask, be family, have a family and work, you know, and you want to. You don't just sort of sit idle and, you know, if you don't want to. That's I wanted to touch on Layla actually, because yeah, amazing. Is she 13 or 14 now?
She's 16.
She's 16. Right, so this is why, because I'm not going to say I think she was like 2 when you were our teacher. So this is, oh my gosh, that's so long. But anyway, but amazing. And she's doing, and you're a self-confessed Mama Rose, and you know it must be lovely for her to have someone who's had the experience you've had, where you were the opposite, and it kind of was just quite new. But again, looking at it from a 16-year-old's point of view, what kind of things do you think are essential for young performers or people looking to who are thinking about, oh, I'd like to go into the industry, I'm not sure what I want to do. I know Layla, you know, is a triple threat. She's doing everything. She's doing Spirit, West End Kids, you know, she's really in there. Are there any kind of fundamentals or any advice you would give to youngsters at that age or a little bit younger, sort of going in from what you can see from, you know, being around Layla and her journey?
Well, Layla's a little bit like me, is because I did it all through my youth, doing tap and ballet and jazz and you know, watching the movies. And she's kind of always done tap, modern and ballet. Not that I forced her. She just loves it, like I loved it. And so I, you know, let her carry on with it. So she's had a lot of training, and she's done all her exams. And I think it's really good to, if you want to do it seriously. You know, get yourself some exams, because again, if you want to become somebody in the industry, you've got to be able to have another job running alongside it, like teaching. You know, and like I've always said to Layla, even though she hates doing her RAD ballet exams and she hates, you know, I'm like, you've got to have those things, because that's your little bit of money that you'll have when you're not working. And there's a lot of time when you're not working, you know. And now she's at college. She's at a drama college, and you know, and I know how, you know, all your students who are wanting to go to drama colleges or at drama colleges, I know how they're feeling, you know, because she's the same, you know, she's on Zoom. I mean, I've kind of got a studio set up here because I work here, you know. I train like pop singers and stuff, and about performance skills and things like that. So I've got a mirror, I've got the floor and all that. So she's really lucky because she's got her Zooms in this. But, you know, my heart goes out to all the students who are in a living room, and, you know, I remember dancing in my bedroom, you know, and thinking, oh my God, if I could just break out of here and, you know, and dance or sing. So I know what everyone's going through. It's really tough, but you've just got to keep motivated, you know.
And that's it. I think there's a lot on offer, obviously online. A lot of teachers are providing resources, and I think sometimes the motivation can lag a little bit because you don't have that interaction with your classmates, and you know, you don't have that sort of face-to-face energy. It's harder for the teacher as well, because you sometimes have to work harder over the medium. But yeah, I mean, it's just, so in terms of, I'm going to take it back a little bit, that kind of deals with maybe this psyche that's happening around a pandemic and motivation. Was there a time when you sort of had this self-doubt, or you had rejection, or nerves, and how did you sort of combat that, if so?
Oh, all the time. I've always, you know, I've always been quite anxious about, and I don't know when that kicked in, you know, because when I talked about myself when I was 16 and I didn't have a care in the world, but then as you get older, or it happens when you're young, but then I wasn't like that. And I don't know when it clicked in, but I really suffered with, you know, nerves and stuff like that, you know, performance and auditioning, you know, and I still do. I'm a bit crazy about doing the same thing. If I'm in my dressing room, you know, I do the same things. And if I've done a little warm up one time, then I go and do that warm up every time. I remember I had a singing bit in From Here to Eternity, and I always went to the top of the theatre before I went into the toilets and sang the thing through. At least it had to be like 4 times, and then go out. You know,
just to check,
and drive myself mad. But you know, it keeps you on your toes. You know, I mean, I didn't really enjoy it, that anxiety, but
no. It seems to come part and parcel of it, doesn't it? There's a lot of that because, you know, I think people want it so much, you know, and you're the product, you're selling yourself, it's all on you. There's no one else singing that song, there's no one else acting, it's you doing that performance. And if it goes wrong, I feel there's obviously that pressure that you put on yourself, but also you think, oh, you know, this kind of outside validation or, you know, commentary. So yeah, I mean, have you done many self-tapes, auditions whilst are you self-taping like mad?
Can you see my face?
Oh yeah, you were like, oh my God. And how is that?
Well, the thing is, you see, I've never stopped learning. I'm still learning now. It just changes all the time. So I was hopeless at self-tapes a while ago. And I remember when they first started happening, and it was before the pandemic. This was quite a while ago, and it was awful. I think probably my first self tape must have. I don't think my agent probably passed it on because it was so bad. Now, you know, we're all equipped. I've got the ring light. I've got the this, that, the other, and I hate doing them. And the turnover for them, the learning, is like 24 hours, most of the stuff. And because I'm getting older, it takes me longer to learn. You know, and like if Layla gets one, she learns it like that.
Yeah.
I used to be able to do that, but that doesn't happen like that. So then I have to go up, especially in lockdown, you have to go, you know, normally just in my pajamas. I have to then go upstairs and get washed and put makeup on and come back down, set up the room. Then there's cars going up and down the road. Then there's builders doing. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where we are right now. I hope it doesn't stay like that.
I mean, I totally understand, and it's a complete sort of new way of doing things. And like you said, you have to kind of grow with the times, and you have to make the most of where we are, and we don't have any other option. The only good side to that I see is that you can do more than one take. So you can look at it, you can watch it back and go, actually, I'm going to change that, because I know often in auditions it can be, it's just a 50-50, which way you're going to go with it, which choice, and you don't often get. And although you could play each side, you could play it really bold or really kind of, you know, serious or serene. If you choose the wrong one, you know, it could be, you know, a case of, oh, okay, not today. But actually you could watch it back and go, actually this one, this shows enough. And so there's that, I guess, that we can.
That is very, very true. Apart from, I can't bear looking at myself. I mean, if ever I do any telly or anything like that, never look at. I'll look at it, and then that's it. I will never look at it again. So self-tapes, for me, it's like a bit like torture.
Yeah, it's like that thing, isn't it, with TV people?
I wouldn't send anything.
That is the other downside, isn't it? So you can do it too much, and you can sort of wear yourself out. So I love that. And how have you kind of managed, like we've said that you've got this set up and you're teaching, we are going through a pandemic. How have you managed to keep yourself motivated? If so, is there anything particular you kind of adopted during this time to kind of make it easier on yourself, or sometimes you just didn't manage and you just thought, do you know what, I'm going to stay in my pajamas?
Do you know what? I've not sung at all. I did one bit of singing for some charity, and I'm not one of these people. I can't sing as me.
Right.
I have to be somebody else. So it was one of my ex-students from RAM said, Julie, will you sing? Will you do I'm Still Here for this charity that we're doing? And I was like, oh God, I haven't got the wig. I haven't got the costume. That's digging deep into myself.
Yeah.
Because I don't class myself as a singer. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like Mike and, you know, my name's Julie and I'm going to sing. So it was really tough. And I thought, you know what? Get on with it. Crack on with it, because you're doing nothing at the moment. So it made me record the song, you know, and I'm so glad I did it now, and film it and stuff. But in my head, I wasn't me, I was somebody else singing it, you know. So I did do that in lockdown. I was really pleased with myself, because it's something I would never, ever do. And I did it. But apart from that, I haven't sung. And the other day I did a self-tape, and I had to do a little bit of singing. It wasn't for a musical. It's for TV. And my voice was really, really tired after because I've done nothing, and it's not good. So hearing my voice again the other day, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to start I'm going to start just gently doing a warm up. It's really hard when you're in your own house, you know, and knowing that there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
But things are getting better.
Mm.
You know, I've been really busy since January doing these self-tapes and stuff. So things are moving. Things are looking up. I mean, I'm not getting anything, you know. You know, but I'm self-taping and I need to be ready. I need to get myself, you know, I need to stop eating. I need to, you know, I need to get myself together because things are going to quickly, and before we know it, we'll all be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sorry.
It's going to take a while, but you know, it's going to come upon us and we're all going to go, oh, but I was meant to be, you know, really fit and my voice in tune and, you know, I've read about 6 plays, you know, and I've done none of them. And you know what? And I'm not gonna beat myself up about it.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. I think there's moments where you go, right, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be really proactive, go 100 miles an hour, make sure I've got everything ready. But also there's days when you're just like, I can't today. I just can't do it. And I think it's really good for especially the youngsters that are kind of, you know, on Zoom and are doing classes online. And they're trying to, you know, this is their time when they're training and they've paid this money. Some have come from different countries, you know, like on our course, we had people from Europe and all over. It's hard. It's really hard. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just about being honest about where you are, but it's also knowing, you know, having that, keeping you on your toes a little bit, saying, you know, you have to start, you have to keep doing something if you can. If you feel like it today, warm up. If you can go for a walk, you know, move your body. Let's sort of, because, you know, the doors are going to open again, the world's going to open. And, and you know, there's some people that are going to be ready like that. And there's others going to take a little bit of time. But I think it's just really nice to just hear you say that, because I think we're all feeling it, you know. And I think especially being a creative, there's, you know, this self-employment, you know, you have to keep, how important is it for you, you know, pre-lockdown and after, was it to keep yourself sort of training, like, we sort of touched on it, didn't we? If people are not teachers, like, what do you suggest they do in between jobs? How important is it for them to keep, to keep themselves, you know, show fit?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, you've got to be fit. You know, it's not about size, and that's what I love now about the industry. You know, you don't have to be stick thin anymore. And I always said that to you guys. You know, it was always about, we all have to be different because people are different.
Yeah.
You've just got to be fit. You know, it doesn't matter if you feel a bit, but you've got to make yourself feel good. You know, and if you're not teaching, like I was, and that's how I stayed fit. If you're not, then you have to do it yourself. You have to be self-motivated, and you have to be able to, you know, go to the gym and do classes. And I can't stress that enough, because, you know, there's so much choreography out there. There's a newfound love for dance and all these shows. I mean, just like, look at Hamilton, look how much movement, how much dance is there. You know, you've got to be super fit these days, and you've got to try and have a crack at everything. The singing, the dancing, the acting. It doesn't, you know, you don't have to be perfect, but you've just got to be fit and ready to just have a go at it. And if you're not teaching and you're not physical, then you've got to be doing dance classes and stuff, just to learn how to pick up. And, you know, even if it's a step aerobics class, you know, when you go from one foot to the other and all that, it's just that, and it's keeping the brain healthy. And it's so easy to just stay in bed. And I know I've done that. And it's the slippery slide down. And as much as I hate exercising, I loathe it, I hate it, I still have to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know it makes me feel better.
Yeah. And it's good. And I think also, especially in this industry, we have to become champions of ourselves. We have to be, self-motivated. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. You have to have self-belief. And like you said, I think what I'm very passionate about is instilling confidence and the right mindset to young teenagers. Because if you can get it in there, then yes, it's hard, but it's not impossible. And there are going to be hurdles. Because it was very much when I'm going back some years as well. When I was younger, I was just, I just want to be in the performing arts. And people used to laugh at me. And they'd never give me it. They were just like, you're going to be out of work 9 months of the year. And I'm like, well, yes, but I just want to do it. And obviously I didn't really take that in. But what I think people need is that education on how to create good mental health. And like you said, exercise helps with that. It's about being, realistic with yourself and your abilities and saying, okay, today I'm having a bad day, but, tomorrow is going to be amazing as another chance, or I'm just going to let that slide, but not hold on to that, or I didn't get that part, but that's okay. And being realistic with how your audition went and being realistic with where you're at right now. And not being kind of super, oh my God, I haven't moved my body, the super sort of negative kind of attitude, which I find tends to come out without them necessarily thinking, but it seems to be just a dialogue that everyone's like, oh, I can't do that, or oh, I'm rubbish. And I'm like, just listen to what the words are saying. And I think you touched on that. I think things like exercise, things like well-being and doing things that you're passionate about makes you feel better, and therefore you can then be in a better headspace to go, do you know what? Yeah, I'm really excited about this audition. I'm just going to have a good chance to perform and do what makes me feel good, because I feel good today. And
exactly. You've got to talk to yourself, because it's so easy to talk negative to yourself. It's like if I go, in the good old days when we went out to do an audition, which was like last year, because I hated the auditions, but now I think to myself, hey, who knows what tomorrow brings? Just go out there. This is my audition. As long as I don't let myself down, don't let yourself down. Don't worry about them, what they think. I can't make them, but I've got to go in there, and I just mustn't let myself down. Just go in. You've paid your ticket on the tube to get there. Just don't go in and with all crazy silly stuff in your head. Go in, do your job, go home, go get coffee. I've talked myself into going, what's the big deal? You've got 2 minutes of your life. Just go in, do it, and come out. Yeah.
And you love this, and you're so right. You're so right. And it's finding that kind of stillness and sort of being centered before you go into an audition, because there's so many external factors. You've got other people. You might have that person in the audition room that's like, yeah, I've just finished doing this, and and that's a mental sort of psychological, it can psych you out. And I think it's really important. I love that. It's just having confidence in what you do and knowing that what you do is enough, and you've got to show that.
That's right. I mean, I hate, because now you get emails through and it tells you who's going to be in the room, who the director is, who the pianist is, and you're just like, oh my God, I know him. Oh my God. And what I try to do is I skim that email to try not to look at all the names, because I build up stuff in my own head.
Yeah.
Oh, but what if I do this and he saw me do that, and then I'd rather deal with it when I open the door and see then because then I haven't got pre-rubbish in my head.
Yeah.
I'm a bit silly like that, and I never remember people's names because of that reason, because I clear my head.
Yeah.
And I'm not very good at chit-chatting before an audition either with people, because I don't need any other. I'm trying to keep in my happy place.
Yes, absolutely. And you find that some people can kind of put their nerves and their negativity onto you in the audition waiting room. And that's a big, like, I've just learned to just smile and take yourself off to a corner and just not talk. Stay in your happy place. Absolutely. So I just want to quickly touch before we go. just on the other side of the table, you know, what do you like to see from someone who's walking into an audition room or who's walking on stage? What are kind of key qualities that you think people look for and they go, oh yeah, I want to see more of you, or I'll give you a recall? Or what's your opinion on that?
It's funny because the minute someone walks in the room, you know, you have a feeling straight away.
Yes.
You know, and it's so important to get that right before you even do anything.
I just want to point out to all the viewers, there is a blog that I've written that's called Walk the Walk, that literally talks about that, because I think from experience, I've done the whole shuffle and run in and run out and like apologizing, and I think it's just such a no-no. You're so right.
Can you imagine you've been sat at a desk all day with people and then you get a shuffler coming?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm talking from the other side of the desk now. And
Yeah.
you get someone going, oh, shall I? And you're just like,
Oh.
just come in. So that's the other side. So you want someone to just come in,
Yeah,
and just bring a bit of joy in, you know, not with like, hi, oh, I've got a bit of this in the back of my throat. So, you know,
yeah,
it's that presence that you bring in the room that can just immediately people connect to before you've even done anything.
yeah. Amazing. Sorry.
And that's all you want to do. You just want to create a good impression.
That's really, really good advice. And I think, you know, first impressions happen within the first sort of 7 seconds. So like you said, it's just being prepared. It's just being cool. It's being chilled, you know, being you on a really good day. That's really, really, really inspiring. I've just absolutely loved this. I just want to check there's nothing that so before we go, just 3 tips for young performers starting out. If you could give them 3 big sort of important pieces of advice, what would it be?
Ooh.
Oh, put you on the spot.
What, when they've come out of drama school?
Or just
someone like me who wanted to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Any of it. Someone looking at going, this is what I want to do. 3 pieces of advice.
If you really want to do it, then just keep doing it. Don't listen to anybody else everyone used to say to me, well, when you come back up home to Newcastle, you'll probably get a job up there, when, you know, and I wasn't going back. Always go forward. Think forward, even when you feel like the doors are slamming. If you really want to do it, just go forward with it. And I stepped into the unknown. I had no clue. And everybody's now, you know, everybody's got far more information than I ever had. So use that information and go forward. I would say do classes. Just do anything, acting classes. Put yourself out there, as scary as it is. Put yourself in scary positions. Because if you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah.
You know, get yourself to the Actors Centre when we can. Or do one of these readings on Zoom. I mean, that would scare the life out of me. But, you know, when I was younger, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Because I would have gone, whoa, this is fun. And dance and just, you know, there's loads of classes online at the moment. But when we can go out, keep doing that. You know, do classes for sure.
Yeah.
And the third thing is just make sure that you live your life and don't because sometimes this industry, even though you love it, it doesn't love you back sometimes. And don't let it do that. Crack on and live your life.
Oh, Julie, my heart is so full. Firstly, because I get to reconnect with you after, you know, like a decade, and it's so wonderful just to hear your story and to see that, and for someone like me who you used to teach, and I'm going through that change of casting bracket, and you know, and I'm still here, and you know, still doing it, and I very much resonate with that kind of, you've got to keep learning and you've got to keep, you know, trying new things, and it does get scarier the older you get, but it, you know, everything's new. Everything's a new experience. So
It's
everything you said has just been absolutely
even
priceless
for me
today.
now. It's all new. You know,
Yeah,
it's just because I've got a lot of things on my CV and I have had a lot of experience. I still get a new thing in, and I go, oh, where am I going to start?
yeah.
Do you know?
And
Um, and and if I could look at myself back at some points, you know, that were difficult for me, I wish I could see that person and go, were you not just having a great time?
yeah,
You
so
know?
enjoy it.
Yeah,
Sort of enjoy it and take each day as it comes. Be kind, be realistic,
be
but
kind to
work hard.
yourself,
Yeah.
yes, and
I
others, but particularly to yourself, because it's so easy to be, you know. I mean, I'm my own worst
detrimental,
enemy.
yeah.
Yeah.
It really is, and I think you've shed a lot of light. Honestly, I'm just so grateful for you. Um,
Oh,
I've always loved it. I've always loved, watching you and learning from you and to have you here today and to be my first is just so valuable to not only myself but hopefully everyone that's watching and got to figure out how to save this before I delete it all. But yeah, I'd love to save this and pop it on maybe YouTube so people can just have this information to hand. And never give up, guys. But I just want to thank you so much, Julie. You've been an absolute star. And I wish you well, and I wish Layla well, and just yeah, I'm just really grateful. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
It's so
You're
lovely
so
to see you.
welcome, my darling. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Keep
Bye.
going.
Yeah, I'm just
You'll
gonna
get
just
there.
introduce. Yeah, I'm gonna introduce what we're doing next week. We've got the old Miss Frisky on. You know her, Laura Corcoran.
Oh,
Yeah. So basically, I'll be talking to one of the biggest voices in international cabaret, Miss Frisky,
bet.
who has literally belted her way from London's West End to Sydney Opera House. So I'm going to be talking about how she made the switch from a kind of view of musical theatre to then creating a niche and creating your own work and carving out like a really successful career.
Yeah.
And creating your own art because just because you don't get that yes from a West End casting director doesn't mean you're not talented and doesn't mean you can't go on and be successful or earn a really good living doing what you love to do. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to try my best to. I just want to thank everyone that's tuned in. I will try and save this and I'll let everyone know where to put it on. I don't know how to save it. Oh God, can anyone tell me how to save this? Or do I just press close? But anyway, we'll figure it out. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank
Lots of
you.
love. I'm
Bye
so
bye.
grateful. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 How do I end?